They say curiosity might kill a cat, but in my neighborhood, it almost destroyed Karen's reputation. Picture waking up before dawn, peering through your blinds, and catching your HOA president in a robe, pulling letters right out of your mailbox. That was the nightmare I found myself in, and it snowballed into a federal sting that ended with her in handcuffs. Before we start, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story reaches. It kicked off at 5:30 a.m. I'd noticed my mail going missing for weeks. Utility bills delayed, a birthday card from my sister never arriving, even the IRS insisting a form had been delivered when it hadn't. At first, I blamed luck or careless postal service. But the gaps were too sharp, too regular, and I began to suspect someone was deliberately messing with my mailbox. So, one morning, I brewed coffee, parked myself at the window, and waited. Sure enough, just as the sun crept up, a shadow moved across my driveway. I figured it was some random porch thief, but then I saw her. Karen, my HOA president. Lavender bathrobe tied tight, slippers dragging across concrete. She marched straight to my box like she owned it, popped it open, and flipped through my mail like she'd done it before. I nearly choked on my coffee. Karen, the same woman who preached about community values and handed out violation slips like candy, was stealing my mail. I wanted to storm out and catch her, but instead I held back. If she was bold enough to do it once, she'd do it again. And if she targeted me, how many others had she already hit? The next day, during our HOA meeting, I casually raised the issue of missing mail. Karen smiled, tilted her head just enough to make her pearl earrings swing, and said, "Oh, you know how unreliable the post office can be," dismissing me with a laugh. But her tone made it clear. She wasn't laughing at the post office. She was laughing at me. That's when I realized this wasn't just neighbor drama anymore. Mail tampering is a federal crime under 18 U.S.C. 1708, carrying fines and jail time. If Karen thought she could keep treating the neighborhood like her personal empire, she was about to learn what federal enforcement looked like. I knew yelling at her would only spark chaos and HOA excuses. What I needed was hard evidence, proof she couldn't spin with fake smiles or bylaws. So I reached out to the United States Postal Inspection Service. Most people don't know they exist, but they're the oldest federal law enforcement agency in the country, and they take mail theft seriously. When I explained, they didn't laugh it off. They took a full statement, asked specific questions, and finally Inspector Lopez told me, "Sir, if this is accurate, it's a violation of Title 18, Section 1708. That's punishable by up to 5 years. If you're willing to cooperate, we can run a controlled delivery." I agreed instantly. The plan was simple but genius. They'd prep a decoy envelope with a GPS tracker hidden inside. It looked like a regular letter, but once someone removed it, the inspectors would know. The next morning, I placed the bait, envelope in my box, and waited. My nerves were shot, hands clenched around my mug so tight it almost cracked. Across the street, a plain sedan with tinted windows sat quietly, inspectors inside. Right on cue, just after sunrise, I saw the lavender robe again. Karen, walking briskly, head held high like she was out for a stroll. Instead of greeting neighbors, she went straight to my box. Without hesitation, she opened it, slipped the letter into her pocket, and strutted away like nothing happened. Seconds later, Lopez's radio crackled. "Tracker's moving. Subject heading northbound." My heart pounded as their car eased out, tailing her at a distance. Karen had no idea. She had just walked straight into a federal trap. She thought she was untouchable in her HOA kingdom, but this wasn't a stolen neighbor letter anymore. She had stolen government property, and now the feds were in charge. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because it only gets better. By the time Karen made it home, the inspectors had already coordinated with local police. The tracker confirmed she entered her house with the stolen mail. Lopez looked at me and said, "Once she opens it, that's evidence. Watch closely." It didn't take long. Minutes later, the signal showed the letter had been opened. That was the green light. I followed from a distance as inspectors rolled up to her driveway, lights flashing. Karen stepped onto her porch, clutching the envelope like she'd won something. The smug grin didn't last. Lopez approached, badge out. "Ma'am, you are under arrest for theft of U.S. mail, a violation of Title 18, Section 1708. Hands where I can see them." Karen froze. "What? This is wrong. I'm the HOA president. I have authority." Lopez cut her off. "Authority doesn't include stealing mail. Turn around." Neighbors peeked out, phones in hand, recording as the so-called queen of the cul-de-sac was cuffed in broad daylight. I'll never forget her face as Lopez read her rights. It wasn't shame. It was disbelief. Years of bullying and twisting HOA rules had given her confidence, but this wasn't HOA business. This was federal. The police took her away while Lopez assured me charges would stick. He was right. Within weeks, Karen was indicted on multiple counts. The HOA board, desperate to distance themselves, voted her out unanimously. The woman who once strutted down the street in a robe like she owned it was suddenly a cautionary tale. Neighbors whispered, some laughed, others shook their heads. But one thing was certain. Nobody feared her anymore. As for me, I didn't even care about the stolen bills or cards. What mattered was that real justice had arrived, because when someone messes with your mailbox, it's not HOA politics anymore. It's federal business, and the government doesn't play.